It is Wednesday, the 24th day of March 2021. Welcome to Pan-African News on Pan-African Television with me, Abena, Dede, Narkie. We are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. We are also live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. Coming up, with the floods setting in this year, residents in flood-prone communities are raising red flags and alerting government of failed promises to stop flooding in Accra. We'll take a critical look at flooding in Accra. Students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism are picketing at the premises of the school, demanding school authorities come clear on fees and other academic concerns. We bring you a special report on the water challenges at Bari, Gonse, Tomefa. And in business, government says it has invested $1.4 billion in water projects. We have details of these stories and some others coming up in the next 1 hour. Don't go anywhere. Good afternoon. A big thanks to you for joining us today on Pan-African News. My name is Abena, Dede, Narkie. We are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. We're also live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. The news in detail. Students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism are demonstrating over the school's directive asking them to defer their courses as a result of late registration and payment of tuition fees for the academic year after the deadline. Now, according to the students, this harsh directive by management is distasteful, appalling and devastating, as it has the tendency to disrupt their academic lives and plans of having a successful future. Now, the affected students are therefore calling on the school authorities to overturn this decision and allow them continue on their studies. Our reporter, Makiza Michelin, is on the field and brings us the latest. Makiza, good afternoon. Okay, so this is the current situation at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. The students are picketing. Yes, they don't understand certain issues or certain directives being put in place by their heads. And so our reporter Makiza will be giving us more updates as at when we get in touch with her. Now, residents of Awoshi Elang in the Anyaso-Utium constituency have expressed worry about the absence of drains in the community. According to residents, the situation has become a death trap anytime it rains, but several attempts to get appropriate authorities to fix the drain has fallen on deaf ears. There's more to this.
This bridge links Elang to Awoshi. Works on the structure began in 2020 with the expectations that it will, on completion, prevent flooding in the area and other surrounding communities. However, the bridge was completed without accompanying drains to take in flood water, resulting in serious flooding anytime it rains. According to residents, the situation is posing serious threat to lives and properties.
Boji wachai won pofai nínú kwa febu wahin okono since beni kufu oba bono wa voto wa ha NPP bi NDC yeko ye bi dan wa voto wa ha budane akeno ni wotwe issue oba fe awo bi ane kuma wo gbe won ta o gata ko mepo ke ko Teye bi ene Wabi a Kenyan bonnet 1 year me. Got a never Jamie our fine. O Fabry Jan fine. One sumo, one double she. She won't come 1 year. She won't fair fake but best I know what to conclude. Koshek bay no ya equal, no chucky. Oh, one pofai. No, I fear. 1 year no because Bopono 1 year can. Near this you are me queer. Yaka wa voto wa ha ba me ke BNPP yo e wa ka ba bi epo NDC bi a me ba bi epo wo won po fai bo wo to no fi an wo.
For school authorities at St. Lutroth, the situation is very troubling, especially during the rains, putting the lives of school children at risk.
Oh, okay, thank you. The preparations we have made towards the rainy season, like you just said, we are fast approaching the rainy seasons. And the thing is that should it rain very hard, within an hour or two, the place becomes quite okay for passage. So we have these boards, very thick ones, which we put right from the entrance of the school to where the bridge is, very thick and quite big. So with the help of the teacher, should it rain very hard, we have to wait, let's say, for an hour or two. And during that duration, the place becomes quite okay. So we put these thick boards there, and then the teachers here will have to convey the children in small numbers from here to where the bridges so that they can find their way home.
Residents said they fear for their lives with the rain setting in and are blaming the Gas Central Municipality for neglect.
Best 4 years in Miss me papa. Mekotina dano so. Say you got to be out here. Since Sony unity, only a hoto, Jinsuni to go. And son of Hoto, Nuclear Bacope. School Hangina and Suko. Also, bridging now, Womayano. And Cassay ye buo. Say, a honor to say at the sale. I have a pepe. Now soon a talk, no, you are, not Payafaho. Until you want a 400 so you yes, I got an yet, sir, bridging a dear. Ye no people only a hoto, no tender down. Only a hoto. A prayer woman, ye bridge, crano, ye phone party. I won't show them. Didn't know we ye. No sooner ye in soon you than Casson. Yesterday, about one about the subject, no share, no yamay.
Mepacho ahomboa de enya ahomboa amfa gwata na edaha no ho intine yesra aban so ba be bibi afa gwata no ho ayeden amayin because ensuo no etokese won se ha na joint na etu ensuo no to a etumi yire ba dem oba da kora mpo ebia na wetu kwan na onni ho me se me tu kwan pa de bia me wa kwantum bia na me ba ayeden wada na ensuo na yire betumi aha akwala no wona logu table so kure tumi yire na ne ma na da na ayeden agunsuo no mti esra aba se de wa ya ala jodie no esra ne so ntum be ya hansu bibi kakra nyeden emayen.
From A-Lang, Akwe Marion's report for Pan-African Television.
Now, we have been joined in on phone by Makiza Michelin, now students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Hello, Makiza. Hello, Makiza. Good afternoon.
Hi, Ivy.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Makiza, tell us what is happening at the Ghana Institute of Journalism.
Okay, so I am currently at the Ghana Institute of Journalism where the students are picketing. They are crying out as a result of a communique that they received from the school management telling them that students who were unable to meet the deadline should defer for next year. And a lot of the students were unhappy about this communique by the school's management. Apparently, the school had no dialogue whatsoever with the SRC or the representatives of the students, and they just went ahead and brought about this communique, which did not sit well with the students. Right now, it's been 2 hours of students shouting, some students crying, and threatening to break into the school. Right now, I speak to you, there are about 30 policemen here guarding the school's gate so that the students cannot go in. The students are saying that they just want to present a petition to the school management so that they can revert this directive that they have given. Some students are crying, some were sitting on the floor, some were actually sleeping on the street just so the school management authorities will listen to them. But as yet I speak to you, none of the authorities for the students. Have been sent to the school's new to keep the management of yet to know outcome of that. But we're still here. So right now this is the debate for journalism.
Tell us, have you spoken to any of the authorities?
No, we are unable to reach out. So it's the student representatives that are actually in a meeting with them to have some feedback. But right as I speak to you, the president and the alumni of GIJ, the president of the alumni body of the GIJ has actually come around to speak to the students, ask for calm and resolve. But the students seem to be unhappy about the, Hello?
I can hear you, Makiza, go ahead.
Hello?
I can hear you, Makiza, go ahead.
Okay, so the students are satisfied with what the alumni or the president of the GIJ alumni actually came to tell them. They are unhappy with what he had to say. They actually still insisting on the fact that management should address the issue, and overturning the communique that was released. They are saying that the school authorities are undemocratic. They should resort to dialoguing to actually listen to their grievances, because they have to go through very hard times to receive or to get money to pay. And now they have been able to pay for the school fees, and you are telling them that because the deadline was not met, they would have to defer their courses. So that is the situation right here. We also had Clement Park also speaking on the issue, and he seems to be unhappy about the position of the Ghana Institute of School Management and Authorities.
Let's look at the grievances of the students. What are their plans if the authorities fails to, address the issue? What are their plans? Wait for it. Hello?
Yeah, they'll come here until the authorities listen to them. They are raising issues of the fact that they have just 3 days to the examination, and the school is telling them to defer. Some of them are in level 400, and that means they will be unable to graduate. So these are some of the issues and concerns of the students. They are saying that the school is noted to be, undemocratic and all of these issues, because apparently in 2018 there was a similar process where students who had not settled their financial obligations to the school were, exempted from writing the examination. So some of the students are, saying that this is not the first time that the school has done something like this. So that's the situation on the ground, Ivy.
Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. So, Makiza Michelin is a reporter at Pan African Television. She's currently at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Now, authorities of the school have asked the students to postpone their courses due to following late registration. We'll give you more updates on that. Now, let's move on. As the raining season approaches, residents of Panama, a suburb of Kokomlemle, are raising red flags to government as a matter of urgency. Repair the broken drain constructed to prevent flooding in the area. Now, residents say they live in a daily fear anytime it rains, since the drain was badly damaged after the 2015 June 3rd rain disaster.
1993 and completed in 1998 by the Jerry John Rawlings administration, this drain, which stretches from Silver Star in the airport area and connects to the Odo River, was constructed to deal with the havoc of perennial floods. For the people of Panama, a suburb of Kokomlemle in the Greater Accra region, the drain does not seem to serve any meaningful purpose after the 2015 June 3rd flood disaster that devastated Accra. Huge portions of the drain were broken after the floods, and all attempts to get appropriate authorities to have the drain repaired had not yielded any results. Several government officials, according to the residents, turned the community into a tourist site to inspect the drain amidst promises to have it repaired. But nearly 6 years after the floods, the drain is still not repaired. This has created serious concerns for residents, as lives and properties are under threat anytime it rains.
Yes, sir. What disasa asemwe sensu to a ebufaso and I want say school so ha se nkwadan so nam ha wa utime hwe ahase nyina abubu atomu won from since 2016 insonu to a ebufaso sa efan krofo niema, but yenwu obiara at least all farm plants anasa aban anasa bibisa na uhwe nso ankrofo dampa na mo dampo bola edigumu won aban so akase sa niema we nsu no enye, but ube sorry anopa na nkrofa ba be dampo bola agumu nim bebi omufri enti wana na assemble na adwuma sa so mo hwe se man nkrofa be dampo bola engumu na secondary nsu got ayi bu ye ache omampanyin nsu ti ha yi a won na ha se nsu nkora na mo ha se eko school enti yentwe se nkora bi beto mu no wu ana se bibi bensi ansa na ebeba be kase ye ba be ye gota no wuti ase
school year wa say nkoda bebre wo hono mo de bia nkoda na mo anti so timi to ama ni yiri ha say nyina tese unya kwan obefa akọ ofie anti yenim de minim ukapa yes is in the pipeline, government, but it's in the pipeline from 2016 embassy in there.
Residents say they sometimes have to evacuate their homes when it rains, and despite the fact that they vote, they have been ignored as though they are not part of the country. Sueba recounts she even has to seek refuge on top of a roof as a result.
In locating adere yefare ruwana tsikade na ngaduka na shiga hadda kuna muduka da mu da yara muduka na daga mu mu zo na kan zingili esa mu na duba ko da muka vote ma government ya zo etanye mu mo tuna muka vote har yau ba mu gan wani ya zo nan.
Rainwater has eroded huge portions of the road beside the drain, thus rendering it unmotorable. The footbridge, which connects both sides of the drain and is used by passers, also sports significant damages, with some metal rods visibly exposed, thus making it a recipe for disaster for users. The drain is engulfed with plastic waste and fecal matter, but according to Ramatu, a resident of the community, the waste is transported from other neighborhoods into the channel, thereby blocking the flow of water and causing serious flood.
It is, but not all the rubbish here are from here. Some are from somewhere we don't even know. When it rains, it just gathers the rubbish and then just leave it here. So it's part, but I don't know.
Residents are calling on the appropriate agencies, including the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, to move in and offer solutions ahead of the rains.
Because she than you. It's what I intimate not than near Pierre. Because the initial window near Musan so it's me and Yasam Kitwa, once if you Roma to war. It's what I want to me. Because you are too about to pay 2 years in a not more for the shay and ya a good first a cotoquum and that it's chilly added to 2 I say. And also to a year I say. So you are too about your 2 about my government. It's a power 2017. And yeah, easy. Chef, I didn't pay yet. No, boy to got him. And yes, Kakitwa. It's a power try to Abama say, yeah, which and one brand that boy.
Bless Alomaso's report for Pan African Television News.
Now, we have been joined in on phone by Bless Alomoso. He's a reporter. We do know that after yesterday's downpour, we know that there are some flooding areas here in Accra. He's been touring some of the areas and he brings us the very latest update. Bless, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Pan African News.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ivy.
All right, Bless, tell us, where are you now and what have you gathered so far with regards to flood?
Well, I'm momentarily at Asylum Down. It's still in the Kwale Close constituency. So I've been here. I've been assessing the situation, and to say the truth, it is very worrying. It is very, very worrying. So at this point, that connects from Panama and runs through to Asylum Down. And to my answer, the situation here is even worse as compared to that of Panama. The drain is broken. It's broken. It's very, very much broken. And then I've spoken to a few residents, and they are complaining that whenever it rains, it floods their rooms to the extent that they have to even leave and then come back when the rains are over. So that's the situation here at Asylum Down.
About the drainage system, how do you see the place?
It's a bad spectacle, to say the truth. It's a very bad spectacle. It's worrying to see such a spectacle in modern day Accra, the capital of the city. It's a very bad spectacle. So, as I spoke with the residents, as usual, say that these politicians, they come around and make promises to them of fixing it, but then they vote for them and then nothing happens. It just looks like another exercise, a periodic exercise of coming here, to come and convert votes.
Have you been able to speak to some authorities, the assemblyman or woman or the member of parliament for the area? Have you been able to get in touch with any of them?
No, not yet. But I spoke to one man who has actually lived here all his life. So it has been like this. The situation has been like this for the past 21 years. Because last year, the MP for this area made efforts of trying to repair it, but then it rained again, and then everything was gone. Everything was gone again. So that is the situation currently at Asylum Down.
How about the state of the drain?
It's poor. It's very poor. It is very, very poor. It is poor. It's a bad spectacle. I've never seen such a thing. It is very poor.
Okay, thank you so much, Bless Alomaso, for your time. Now, we do know that we are about entering the raining season. And so what is the NADMO doing about the raining situation or the flooding situation in this country? Are we supposed to wait till places get flooded before we do something about that? Well, still on the flooding situation, as the rains begins to pour down in this year's raining season, newly appointed Works and Housing Minister Francis Asenso-Boakye says government has so far spent 230 million Ghana cedis on dredging drainage facilities. He made the disclosure after touring some major dredging sites here in Accra.
Ghana Meteorological Service has served notice of heavy rains this year. To curb the issue of perennial flood in the country's capital, Dredge Masters, a subsidiary of Jospon Group of Companies, in partnership with government, has begun the third phase of dredging some major drainage systems in Accra. The Works and Housing Minister, Francis Asenso-Boakye, who doubles as Member of Parliament for the Bantama constituency, has revealed that his government has injected some 230 million Ghana cedis to help the ongoing project, which started in 2015 by dredging some major drainage systems. He further assured that government was doing its best to find an achievable solution to the exceedingly worrying situation.
On drainage provision alone, government has spent $230 million Ghana cedis on draining. And you saw the dredging works at the Odo channel, and that is done by dredging masters. In fact, I am amazed at the quality of work they have done so far. And these annual dredging works has helped the country to prevent another major flooding. You all remember the June 3rd, 2015 flood. That's caused a lot of lives, properties, and destruction of economic activities. Since then, government has implemented measures, including this annual dredging and desilting. And that is the reason why we haven't experienced major floods in Accra since the Nekufuado administration. Government will continue to commit resources towards addressing the issue of flooding. But as government is doing its part, we as the citizens also have to do our part. As a development planner, I understand development to be a collective, a shared responsibility.
Operations Manager at Dredge Masters, Sana Kofi Adiepena, was alarmed over encroachment of sites by squatters, which has posed difficulties in their line of work.
Several communications between us, the contractors, and the clients, and they have identified and realized the challenges and risks they pose to being so close to the drains. First of all, their lives are at risk because of the heavy equipment around there and the movement of vehicles carrying out this project. At the same time, they are creating or adding to the nuisance of debris being or polluting the river body and the lagoon, so that when they are not evacuated, you will keep on having the challenge of waste ending up in the lagoon instead of just silt alone.
He also promised to complete the third phase of the project in 45 days. Georgios Invener reports for Pan-African News.
Okay, so we have been joined in the studio by David Arthur. David Arthur is an editor, news editor, and a reporter here at Pan-African Television. We want to discuss the flooding situation in this country. David, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ivy.
All right, David, looking at the story, we just looked at a story where the Housing Minister, Francis Asensu, says government has spent some Ghana cedis in dredging drainage facilities. David, do you think they are not going to be floods this year? What do you think?
When I watched the report yesterday, and it tickled me, and I just told myself we're a bunch of jokes in this country. Okay, we are a bunch of jokes. Just like people created an economy for COVID, people have created huge economy for flooding in Ghana, and that's a fact that people must know. Government itself must know. Look, every year we've been dredging the Odo, and it's not the first time. It's not 10 years. We've been dredging the Odo since time immemorial. Government has always pinpointed the Odo as a shortfall when it comes to trying to prevent flooding in Accra. But let me just give you a genesis of what I'm talking about. Okay. The Odo drain was not constructed 4 or 5 years ago. It's been there for time immemorial. Look at the topography of Accra. Accra is a low-lying area. Why was the need to construct the drain? The Odo drain. Because the government realized that Accra is a low-lying area. There was a need to take in water, excess water that flows into Accra. When I say low-lying area, it means that Accra is submerged. Okay. We are surrounded by, especially by the Krupong, Krupong Ridge, Edri and the rest. Now, all the waters that comes from the top, because Accra is lying low, they all descend into Accra. Therefore, there is a need to put a drainage system that will take in the excess water, that will flow into Accra. Mind you, naturally itself, there are areas in Accra that are natural water holders. And this way I'll mention the foot of the Edri Mountain, or Yarifa, Teye, Kuima, and all those areas are natural reservoirs to hold water. The Edri Mountain itself, the topography or the nature of the rocks is sedimentary. It means they lie over each other like this, layers like this. On top of the rocks, you have vegetation to cover the rocks and hold water so that enough water won't flow from the mountain. Yeah. So these are natural interjections. Right, so the Odo channel is there to hold water. Over the years, we've been dredging, and we spend so huge much. This time, our government says they are spending over 230 million Ghana cedis to dredge the Odo. That is huge economy. That goes into people's pockets, and that's a fact that people should know. That dredging the Odo channel alone does not prevent flooding in Accra. Now, you realize over the years, now when it rains, Adenta, Medina, part of Spintex, part of East Legon, all gets flooded. Initially, it used not to be so. Now, so what is contributing to these areas getting flooded? Excess water. The Odo drain now, currently, if it rains heavily, go and stand at Circle, it overflows its banks. Okay? Because the excess or the volume of water coming into the drain is so huge that the drain itself now, currently, as the Odo channel stands, cannot contain the huge volumes of water coming. Why? Because we've destroyed all the natural holding areas that are supposed to hold the water. I'm talking about the foot of the Edri Mountain, or Yarifa and all those things. Go there right now. We are building estates. Huge rail developments going on there. Siting of illegal structures along waterways, one factor. We've not been able to deal with that. And that's why come now, the moment it rains, the minimum amount of rain, it looks like it's been raining for 100 years. And then the Odo becomes flooded. And this is where I have my beef with whoever says there will be no flooding in Accra. And I have the Inquisitor. It says, dredging masters assures public of no flooding due to massive dredging works in the Odo and Kole Lagoon. That is fallacy. It is fallacy because, look, we're talking about, I'm not saying dredging the Odo is no good. It's one of the means to stop, prevent flooding in Accra. Human activities. We're talking about enforcing bylaws on sanitation. Okay. The various assemblies are not doing it. You are dredging the Odo. The next minute, communities that are springing up along the Odo will be throwing refuse into the drain. So today you go and dredge, tomorrow they throw in, tomorrow you go and drain, the next day they go and dredge. That is an economy, because you are wasting money into a fruitless venture. Why don't you enforce the bylaws on sanitation? Why can't you destroy illegal structures sited on waterways? Why can't you enforce the bylaws on sanitation and building of, structures in various municipalities across the country? I think that is the way to go. If we want to stop flooding in Accra, let's deal with the human factors, which is very easy to do. Let's remove we have 3 months into the rainy season, right?
Yeah.
May, June. Let's remove all the illegal structures that are sited on, unapproved areas, and clear all the debris in the drain. Then when you convince me that we are making efforts to prevent flooding in Accra, I'll give you a thumbs up and I'll clap for you. But if you dredge the Odo and you go and parade media men and show fantasy and tell me that what you've done, dredging the Odo, will stop flooding in Accra, it's fallacy, and I'll just laugh at you.
Okay, Dave, talking of flood, how about drainage systems here in Ghana? Don't you think it's one of the major causes of flood in this country?
And that's what we're talking about. That and it's the Odo drain is not the only drain that collects water in Accra. You realize that now they are dredging from Circle through that area through to the Kole Lagoon, where our reporter was, Bless. It's Asylum Down. That's another part of the drain that connects or collects huge volumes of water. Now, after the June 3 disaster, that section, those who know Paloma Hotel, behind Paloma Hotel, there's a community there called Panama. And we showed, if the producers can show that video, huge portions of the drain in that area were all washed off as a result of the June 3 disaster. After the June 3 disaster, it was the NDC government then, and I quite remember, we went on the tour with the then chief of staff. We went on a tour with the minister then for housing and Western Housing, and then the mayor of Accra. That time, all that area was under A&D. We went on the tour. I was inclusive, and an amount of money was set aside to deal with such infrastructure that got damaged as a result of the June 3 disaster, to build those infrastructure, including roads and drains. The question is, where did the monies go into? Were those drains constructed? Just come to Abofu here. We've been doing reports on that. So now if you tell me all these drains are broken, most of the slabs are broken, and you go and dredge the Odo and Kole, and you tell me you are preventing flooding in Accra, is that not funny? Are we not throwing money into a fruitless venture as a country? For me, I think that, look, we need to do more than that. If we are serious as a country to prevent flooding in Accra, let's get the right things done. Go and construct those drains. Make sure the drains collecting water are in proper condition. Get citizens to be lawful citizens. Punish those who do things that they are not supposed to do, and enforce the bylaws on sanitation. Because it is people who will throw refuse into the same drain that you go and dredge. So why spend money on dredging when you leave the individuals, the human beings who will go and throw the refuse into the dust, into the drain? Why can't you put in measures to enforce the bylaws on sanitation? Rwanda has done it. Why can't we do it?
Okay.
Ivy.
All right, David, thank you so much for
You're
your
welcome.
time. So, David Ato is a news editor here at Pan-African Television. We were discussing the flooding situation in this country. It all boils down to we, the citizens, and I think the government should enforce sanitation bylaws. We have more stories after the short breather. you for staying tuned. You are watching Pan-African News here on Pan-African Television with me, Ivy Abena, Dede. We are live in our studios here, 48 Swanika Street, Abena. We are also live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. Now let's move straight to business. The Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Abena Dapa, has disclosed that government is currently investing about $1.4 billion in urban water supply projects and 6 major rural water supply projects in the country. She made this announcement at a press conference in commemoration of this year's World Water Day, themed Valuing Water.
Both projects, when completed, are expected to benefit about 4.87 million people. According to her, government also aimed at increasing investments in the rollout of climate-resilient water infrastructure systems, which will reduce wastage in freshwater use, reduce pollution, as well as promote efficient water treatment, technologies that will limit the use of water, improve its quality, and ensure that citizens consume it to have healthy, happy, and protected lives. Dapa noted that Ghana had made significant progress in the provision of basic drinking water services to its citizenry, and indicated that by studios from the Ghana Multiple Indicator Cluster survey, 8 out of every 10 household populations in the country used at least basic drinking water services. Statistically, the population have access to improved drinking water sources increased from 78% in 2017 and to 81% in 2019, while the population have safely managed drinking water sources also increased from 27% in 2017 and to 36% in 2019. She said that as a country, we had a duty to make decisions that support only the sustainable use and management of water. Decisions that prescribed and promoted remedial interventions meant to reduce all sources of pollution, including illegal mining and the disposal of liquid and solid water. Decisions that promoted education and public awareness about the fundamental value of water and its essential role in all aspects of life, while taking into account the multiple and diverse groups and interests at stake in all decisions affecting water in ways that would ensure equity, transparency, and inclusiveness.
Now this is the interbank cedi performance against some major currencies. That's all for business. International news is next. On an international front, on March 22, thousands of Bolivian citizens and members of various social movements and trade unions took to the streets of the 9 capitals of the country's 9 departments. Now, the citizens held massive marches to demand justice for the Sekaba and Senkata massacres and numerous other human rights violations committed by the coup-installed regime under the rule of de facto President Annex.
They demanded that all those responsible for the crimes perpetrated after the coup d'etat on November 2019 against the democratically elected president Evo Morales be punished. Dancing and singing, waving national and indigenous Wifala flags, the demonstrators expressed their support for the progressive government of President Luis Arce. They rejected the accusations of the country's right-wing forces and affirmed that an ex and a former minister's arrest are part of justice and not acts of political persecution or revenge. An ex and two of her former ministers, Alvaro Coimbra, the former justice minister, and Rodrigo Guzman, the former energy minister, were arrested on March 13 for their involvement in the coup. On March 14, a criminal investigating judge ordered 4 months of preventive detention for them, considering that there was a high risk of their escape and that they could influence important witnesses if they remain free. On March 20, the second criminal chamber of a departmental court of La Paz ruled to extend the preventive detention for them from 4 to 6 months. They have been charged with terrorism, sedition and conspiracy crimes, which left 36 people dead and 804 injured, while thousands were illegally detained and hundreds were harassed, kidnapped, tortured and persecuted. On March 15, 2 other former government officials were arrested. General Pastor Mendiata, former chief of the armed forces, for his participation in the 2019 coup, and Major Freddy Vargas, former police chief who wrongly granted promotions to officers supporting an Nexus regime. Since March 16, the country has been witnessing demonstrations for and against the arrest of coup regime officials. Bolivia's right-wing organizations have been holding rallies against the arrest in the Santa Cruz department and few cities, while the indigenous, peasant, and women's organizations have been marching across the country in defense of democracy and justice for victims of a coup regime. Yesterday's nationwide mobilization was called for by the Pact of Unity, a national alliance of grassroots organizations in Bolivia, on March 19. Trade unions such as the Confederación Sindical Única de Trabajadores Campesinos de Bolivia, the Sindical de Comunidades Interculturales de Bolivia, the Confederation of Indigenous Peasant Women of Bolivia, Bartolina Cesar, the National Council of ALOS, and Macas del Culasuya, 6 confederations of the Tropic of Cochabamba, and the Central Obraba Boliviana, Bolivia's Trade Union Center, supported and joined the call. The leaders of the organizations condemned the right-wing protests and their rejection of investigations carried out by the prosecutor's office and denounced them as attempts to destabilize the current government of the movement towards socialism. Eba Rogers, the Executive National Secretary of the CUTCB, questioned the opposition for rejecting judicial proceedings against former authorities. They are inciting conflict from their homes. Why don't they talk to Bolivian city, Bolivian social organizations? We demand justice and peace in Bolivia, Rogers told the Agencia Bolivia de Información. Likewise, Flora Agriola, the Executive Secretary of the Peasant Women Confederation, Bartolina Cesar, stressed that the cases should not go unpunished and that investigations must continue. So many brothers have been lost to restore democracy. For them, we ask for justice. Justice for those comrades who were battered in Sakaba, Cochabamba, here in Senkata, so many died, said Agriola. Similarly, several international leaders and organizations rejected the interference in the internal affairs of Bolivia by the Secretary General of the Organizations of American States, OAS, Luis Almagro.
That's all for international news. Credit to international partners. People's Dispatch coming up in sports. Asante Kotoko has a vote. 6 other Ghanaian clubs rank among top clubs in Africa. We have details of these after the short break. Now, Ghana Premier League clubs Accra Hearts of Oak, Kumasi Asante Kotoko and 6 others have been ranked amongst the best 150 in Africa. The latest ranking was provided by the International Federation of Football History and Statistics for the first decade 2001 to 2010.
In addition to the most glamorous clubs in the West African country, Kumasi King Faisal, Obuasi Reshanti Gold Sporting Club, and Dansuman-based Liberty Professionals also made the list. The others recognized are Brekum Arsenal, Bando Heart of Lions, and Real Tamale United. The ranking by the International Federation of Football History and Statistics has been done based on the performances of the clubs in their respective leagues and African competitions, namely the CAF Champions League and CAF Confederation Cup, within the years under review. Coming in first as Ghana's top-ranked club, Kumasi Asante Kotoko is ranked 11th with 7,365 points. Hearts of Oak is followed as the second top Ghanaian club with 5,785 points, leaving the side to occupy the 21st position.
That's all for sports. We bring you the happenings in the world of entertainment after the short breather. Thank you for staying. The month of March has been set aside to adulate Ghana's unique culture and heritage, proudly cherished by the chiefs and people of Ghana. Today, our focus is on the Fio Festival celebrated by the people of Navrongo in the Upper East region of Ghana.
The Fio Festival is celebrated by the chiefs and people of Navrongo in the Upper East region of Ghana. The festival is celebrated in the month of January every year. The farming season historically takes 7 months starting from Dum, May, and ends in Fio, November. For the chiefs and people of Navrongo, there are 3 very important stages in the farming season, namely Kosigri, pleading with God through the ancestors for rain. The Kosigri, which is a prayer for the rains festival, is a solemn period for a certain quantity of rain to support crop growth, prevention of drought and famine. In years past, it involved fasting, procession to shrines and sacred groves to make prayer and sacrifice. The final activity is Kaburi Kanim. The next stage preceding the Fio Festival is the Mokweka Gakuya, which is burnt offering of chicken using grass that has been left since sowing. The Mokweka and Gakuya Festival is also a Thanksgiving festival to God and the ancestors for giving the people help to work to the point of being assured of the fruits of the earth. It is the belief of the people of Navrongo that material blessing comes through hard work, as God ordered man to till the earth. The festival is celebrated on the 2nd Saturday of September. Shortly after this celebration is the ban on noise making. The ban is meant to avoid tribulations, prevent storms, and to provide fine weather. The belief is that in quietness and prayer, God and the ancestors would protect their chosen people from injury and pain. Before the ban on noise is imposed, it starts with a visit by the Tigatina to the Voro, soothsayers or diviners on what the ancestors want. The prescribed sacrifice is then made to indicate that the crops will yield. To prevent any misfortunes, a ban is put in place. Ash is placed around farms to ward off evil activities. Any violation of the ban goes with a punishment. When the crop is ripe and ready for harvest, the ritual is repeated to know when to start the harvest. In modern times, the ban is for 1 month. The Fio Festival effectively starts after the ban on noise making is lifted. Various types of the bean family potatoes are gathered into home through to the harvesting of guinea corn and the late millet. The festival is the final stage of celebration of thanksgiving to God and ancestors for giving fitting quantities of rain to support crop growth. Held to till the earth, protecting life during the season and for harvesting the crop. The festival acknowledges that whatever harvest one makes is a measure that both God and the ancestors deem as good enough for him. The first fruit harvested are used for sacrifices. These include ground millet flour, gully, birds and ruminants in some cases, or a bull in individual homes to the ancestors, followed by the full harvesting activity of gathering the beans, the melon fruits, the different types of potatoes and later the millet crops. This is the high product of reconciliation. After the final harvest, house elders would normally make a second sacrifice, this time with pito, brewed and asking God and the ancestors to let them eat their toil in good health. It is only thereafter that the food can be used for other purposes. Thus 3 months, Duaruro, Womudabu, and Flo. Months are the period of engaging in fowl activities. The modern public celebration of Fio in Navrongo was introduced by the colonialists, and the first festival took place on 11 January 1927, with a lot of suspicion against the white man. The celebrations continued until it faded off and was reactivated in 1988 under the leadership of Navrio Payo Asigapari, Dr. Augustine Atudiku Balinia Ada. The importance of modern public celebration is its unifying role. The people exhibit their culture and use the occasion to discuss developmental issues affecting the town.
Next year, don't close like Bosman Junior High.
Culture display. Fio is a festival celebrated by the people of Navrongo. That's all for this afternoon's bulletin. Before we go, a recap of our headlines. With a flood setting in this year, residents in flood-prone communities are raising red flags and alerting government of failed promises to stop flooding in Accra. And today we took a critical look at the flooding situation in Accra. Students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism are picketing at the premises of the Ghana school, demanding school authorities come clear on fees and other academic concerns. Now, we also brought you a special report on the water challenges at the Gbawi, Gonse and Tumefe. And in business, government says it has invested 1.4 billion in water projects. That's all for Pan-African News this afternoon. Join us at 6:30 p.m. for more news update. My name, Abena, Dede, Nakita. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.